Back to another episode of Barbershop Talk Like This. I'm your host, Trey the Barber.
And this your other host, Dice the Barber.
Kush in the building as always.
And today in the building, we got my man, actor, Mr. Tony Winters. How you doing, my brother?
In the place to be. I guess that's what nobody said. Did anybody say that before?
Hey,
I'm telling my age.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. Right.
What's good with it, my brother?
Hey, you know what? I embraced my generation. It was dope. You know, right. I'm of the Eric B. and Rakim school of hip hop.
There's nothing wrong with that.
You know, LL Cool J.
There's nothing wrong with
that.
So
you
a
true schooler.
So you came through the whole Spanish Fly generation too.
Word up.
Damn, Dice. Damn, Dice.
Yeah.
Is that what came to your mind?
He just said you were at a Cosby party.
I said, damn, dog. So you was slipping Mickeys on women back in.
Everybody was doing Spanish Fly.
But no, like Cosby, you know, he used to talk about it in his comedy act about slipping women's Spanish Fly and what it would do.
Like taking a Molly.
They would say that. I heard guys talking about it, but I don't know anybody that's ever actually done it.
Right.
And you could order it from a magazine supposedly and smoke it and stuff like that. But I heard stories, but I don't know if I don't have any firsthand knowledge of it. I don't even have any secondhand knowledge of it.
Right.
Yeah, but definitely they used to talk about the Spanish Fly when I was coming up.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
All right, well, a couple things we do when we kick our show off.
Okay.
First of all, we thank God for waking us up this morning and allowing
Word.
each and every last one of us to be here and just to continue to bless us in all of our life's endeavors. Man.
Amen.
Amen.
Secondly, normally we kick our show off with a shot, but however, it's way too early for that shit.
I ain't drinking.
You know,
No,
so
Dice
right now,
is turning down a drink at this hour?
Exactly, that's what I told him, man.
Wow.
He talking about, don't nobody drink this early in the morning. I said, what?
What? That's undice-like. What's been going on in
Right.
your life, brother?
3 o'clock in the fucking morning.
That's
Nigga.
never stopped you before.
That's because he just stopped drinking at 6 o'clock this morning.
Fuck you, niggas.
I
gotta go to podcast.
The podcast couple hours, but
There's something to be said for a nice beer buzz first thing in the morning.
That's
though,
true.
Man. Yeah,
That's true.
Sheryl Crow sings
If
about
I
it.
ain't have shit, if I ain't have shit else to do, then probably yeah. But nigga,
When I moved out
Exactly.
here, and I was in engineering school, I figured out that a deuce before class made my day better.
Man,
I
can't-
swear to God,
I can't do
Corona
beer,
deuce
man.
before
Listen,
class made
I
everything
got
better.
football to watch and some videos to shoot today. So,
I can't do beer, man. That shit it affects my asthma. That shit closes my chest up in a minute.
Wow.
I got my inhaler.
Beer to me is a summer drink.
Yeah.
Once it
Cold,
starts
yeah.
getting colder, I don't mess with it. But I do enjoy a good
Wells-
cold beer in
Cold
the summer.
beer in the
Wells,
summer,
our
yeah.
engineer, just informed us
She
that
got
they
Bud
have
Light.
Bud Light. So if you would like to have that morning beer, we got one for you.
No, you know what? I'm gonna roll with my coffee.
Hey.
As she picks hers up from under the table and takes a swig.
Now, when you find a bottle of Hen Dog back there, holla at
is.
your boy. You know what I mean?
Hey,
What's back there? Because you know there's something back there. There's not. You
Just
know
Bud
there's some
Light.
type of bottle, something back there, dude.
Anyway.
Arizona iced tea.
So
The price is on the can.
So Tony, now for those who don't know, you were actually on Queen Sugar. Is that right?
This is correct. This is true.
You played Clyde, the owner of the Old Yellow.
The High Yellow.
The High Yellow, my bad.
Old Yellow was a dog.
Yeah, right.
High yellow is
The
like
High
your
Yellow
light-skinned
was
chicks,
a
yeah.
diner in Saint Josephine Parish in fictional Josephine Parish in New Orleans.
Okay.
I like that show. You know what I'm saying? It's like I stumbled upon it, and I wasn't for sure if I was gonna really dig it that much, but it's actually a really good show.
I'm really proud to be a small part of it. You know, I'm not one of the series regulars. Just had a recurring role on the show. But interesting how it came about, man. I was down in New Orleans. I had booked an episode of NCIS New Orleans.
Okay.
And
Did you get off on the show, or did you not get? Did they? What happened? Did you go?
you
to
know what,
jail?
man? I never play that guy. I'm always the white collar guy, the
Okay.
businessman, the lawyer, the doctor,
Okay.
the government
Okay.
official.
So they killed you.
No,
They didn't kill you.
I was
and you
actually
did-
the secretary of Homeland Security,
Oh,
the
wow.
deputy secretary of Homeland
Oh,
Security is what I
wow.
played,
Oh.
and I was actually on a monitor,
Oh, wow.
having like a teleconference with the New Orleans.
Okay.
I need this
Okay.
shit to happen.
Okay.
Get it done.
Exactly,
Okay.
John. I'm depending on you.
Okay.
Man, it was
okay.
a
He
a
was the
building.
boss.
It was a building that just fell in New Orleans yesterday. Did y'all see
The Hard
that?
Rock
Yeah.
Hotel that they're building in New Orleans
That whole shit
yesterday.
collapsed.
It collapsed. It
In the
killed
middle
2
of the
people
street.
for sure.
Really?
Now, yeah, it
And it's
collapsed.
2 people are unaccounted for.
And 2 people are unaccounted for, and 2
Like, it
people
should-
died.
They were
in
working
the middle
on
of the
it?
street, bro.
I
Like,
don't. Yeah, I think
shit
they was
just-
on the street.
nigga,
Yeah.
it just fell over in the middle of the street.
They
like,
got
the whole
footage
shit.
of it like
Wow.
somebody was in a hotel like down the street and start filming from their window, and you just see the shit. Just it looks like a parking deck.
How
And
did you
it
get
just
your
starts
phone out fast
pancaking.
enough to record it?
They probably was already-
Because it was
started
making
pancaking?
yeah,
Like,
kinda
oh, it's
started
going
pancaking,
down.
going down. Yeah.
Like people be on it, man. Every time
Nigga,
something
your
going-
phone is already in your hand
I know, but
98% of the
you know
time.
the funny part is every time some shit is going down, I'm trying to get my camera up, nigga.
It don't ever work.
It don't never
It
work.
don't never work.
Like
That's
sometimes
'cause
I
you got
listen.
an Android.
You know how many times I thought I was recording? I swore I hit the record button. I go back. I'm like, God damn,
Yeah.
that shit wasn't even recording.
Or
That's
you
'cause
took
got
a
an
picture.
Android. If you
Or
had
you
an
took a
iPhone,
picture.
then it'd be a little bit more easier and quicker.
Damn.
No, nigga, listen. It's not that. It's not that it's difficult. I just be fucking up because I be panicking in those moments. You know, I'm trying to get the moment.
You know,
So you just a fuck up.
other night I was at a bar, and there was this crazy homeless guy hanging out in front of the bar, and he was doing all kind of weird shit. I can say,
Yeah,
We
you
can say
cuss
whatever.
I can say whatever I
We
want.
can ever
right?
say whatever the fuck we want.
All
to
right,
on this
whatever.
show.
There was this weird homeless guy, young black guy, maybe in his early 30s, just doing crazy shit in front of the bar. And then a clown came down the street, an actual clown, minding his own clown business. and the homeless guy was walking up the street towards him, and he threw a forearm in his chest,
Damn.
like football. And then the homeless guy and the clown, they were about to square off and fight. And I'm like trying to get my phone, excuse me, trying to get my phone so I could record it. And by the time I got to it, the fight was over, man.
Damn.
You know, by the time
Hilarious.
So who won?
the homeless guy.
Damn. Okay.
He
He
shit out of
whooped
her.
it.
He beat the shit out of the clown.
He whooped its ass.
He the one who started the fight.
Pennywise
So he
got his
probably
ass
had a
beat.
problem with the homeless guy to begin with.
Right.
He probably had that
Maybe
ass
they had
whooping
beef.
coming.
You know, I can't tell, man.
I mean,
but,
I don't know how many homeless people could afford an It costume. You know what I'm saying? Because that shit is
Shit.
I
in
think the
LA?
guy was coming from that
premiere?
So
promotional
y'all
setup
missing
on
it.
Hollywood
The
and
clown wasn't
Vine.
homeless.
Yeah.
The clown wasn't homeless.
Yeah.
It was
There was a
homeless
promotional
man.
thing on Hollywood and Vine
Uh-huh.
for the movie It, and I
Okay.
think that was where he was coming from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That kid, that dude was, he said he was a young dude. He might have grown up, scared the fuck out of him. You know what I'm saying?
And I've realized there's a lot of people that's afraid of clowns.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
neither. But
I don't get it. What the fuck is scary about clowns?
It's not this, and I've never been afraid of them. But the more I started
It's something
to recognize,
creepy about them.
Yeah, it's some creepy ass
Yeah,
shit about
but-
that. You know,
yeah.
grown folks dressing up, painting it, and like doing like stupid ass weird shit. You know, I get
There's
it.
something creepy about it.
get it.
I
where
ain't-
you from, Tom?
Detroit.
Oh, you from
Detroit.
the
D
Yeah.
town.
Oh,
From
you
the
the-
old
you the-
town.
From the
you-
Motor City.
I was about to say, so low key, a little bit past the good Motown era.
Just a little bit past
Just a
that.
little
Yeah,
bit
I was a
past.
little kid when, Motown was really popping off. I was really young, and then they moved to L.A. when I was maybe 10 years old.
Oh wow.
But, the Motown aura,
That's what I'm about to say. Was the buzz still in the
it's
city?
very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. As I was coming up in the 70s, it was still, they cast a very long shadow
Oh, yeah, for
over the
sure.
entertainment industry. Guys were still trying to, form singing groups, and girls, singing groups, and everybody was trying. A lot of people still trying to, recreate what Berry Gordy had done.
Right.
You know.
Now, were you a singer at all?
I sang well enough to be in the chorus in high school.
I think everybody sang well enough to be in the chorus and hit a little higher.
I'ma sing bass.
Yeah, exactly. No, I could carry a tune. I still can. In fact, I was singing the other night at this bar I was telling you about.
Okay.
It's a piano
Karaoke
bar.
bar?
No, it's a piano bar.
Okay.
And
And you just get up and sing?
No, I know people there.
Okay.
And you got to kind of work it out with the piano player.
Okay.
And I'll do a song.
Okay. What song you do? Let's hear. Let's hear. I don't want you. You don't have to sing. Just tell us the title of the song so we can hear.
See, y'all. Y'all don't know about me, but I like a lot of old music because I grew up watching a lot of old movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was singing King of the Road.
Wow.
Dean Martin. Dean Martin's
Martin,
version of it.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, it's gotta be like singing a piano
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But nah, you can play anything.
Yeah, it's
on
an
piano.
easy song to sing.
Yeah.
I mean, you ain't got to be Luther Vandross.
Right,
you
right.
know,
I
but-
know,
yeah, no, you ain't got to do all that.
That's what I said, because when I heard the piano player, like I think of that old school Frank Sinatra type.
That's exactly
shit, you know
that's
what I'm
exactly
saying?
the kind
My
of thing.
grandfather was big on Frank Sinatra.
It's a place where they do show tunes and Disney pop
Okay.
and that sort of thing.
Okay.
But
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I grew up in Detroit, but I moved to San Diego for college.
Okay.
And
San Diego State.
But
No.
With you being from Detroit, is that what kind of gravitated you for Ali cutting your hair? Because he from Detroit.
no, it was actually
You don't even have to answer that.
no. I want to answer
Yeah,
this.
this is a barbershop question. nigga.
I used
No,
to.
that's
I would just randomly sit in anybody's chair in the cut, and there was a. Let me give you a little background. There was a guy up in the Antelope Valley that I used to go to quite a bit, and I liked the way he cut my hair because I'm older and the top is thinning and the sides are thick.
Right.
So if the guy doesn't cut it right,
Yeah.
know how to blend that, then it looks weird.
Okay.
He cuts too much off the top, and when I do a TV show, they can kind of dress it up to make me look like I got a full head of hair. So
Right.
I don't mind the thinning and the little bald area in the back and all that stuff. And when I sat in Ali's chair, he did it exactly like the dude up in the AV. And I said, "You my dude going forward."
Like you my barber got.
Yeah.
I-
and one of your guys, I was doing a one-man show in 14, and my regular guy wasn't there, and I was like, "Oh shit, whose chair do I sit in?" So I sat in this guy's chair, and I told him I wanted to even all the way around, and he cut it like I had a full head of hair,
Right.
and I looked like
Like the
Bozo the
size was
fucking
the top.
clown. Yeah, exactly.
One of the guys in the shop did this.
Yeah.
Oh well, let's name names.
No,
Who was
I
it,
ain't
man?
gonna do that. I ain't doing that. I gotta come back in there one day, man.
So,
Present company excluded.
But the thing is, with you coming from the era that you came up in, Dolomite and stuff like that, are you looking forward to seeing the new Dolomite
Oh
with Eddie
man,
Murphy?
absolutely. In fact, I went to the movies day before yesterday with a girlfriend of mine, and she wanted to see Joker. She's younger. She wanted to see Joker. I wanted to see Dolomite.
Yeah.
I really did. But
It's only in select theaters right now. Though.
Yeah,
we
but
couldn't
it's
find
gonna-
it. It was nowhere near us.
If you go on
But
Instagram,
it's gonna be on Netflix October 25th.
Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna wait on.
I can't wait to see it myself.
Right.
So what do you think about the
hilarious.
Joker?
It's real dark.
It's very dark, brooding, beast of a performance
Yeah,
by
Joaquin.
Joaquin Phoenix. I knew his brother, by the way. I worked with River Phoenix many years
Oh,
ago.
shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm not into the superhero movies. I go to them for my son and to know what's happening and to remain relevant.
You ain't read
Right.
comics when you was young.
I did, but I'm just not into that as in movie form.
Okay.
But like I said, I attend them, I see them,
I like how they doing the backstory of the
Can
villains.
he
man.
finish the question?
and I was saying that well, I lost my train of thought.
Wonder why.
Where was I? Oh,
You said you wasn't really into.
I wasn't really into. I'm into movies that stories about ordinary people in extraordinary situations.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's my get down, and
Easier to connect to.
See, for me,
Yeah.
the Joker movie, it wasn't even really like a superhero movie. You know what I'm saying? Because it was, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. You know what I'm saying?
I liked
Actually,
it.
by the end of the movie, I was down with the Joker. I'm like, man, fuck Batman. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
most definitely held my attention. Most
Yeah.
definitely held my
Yeah.
attention, and I was never bored. But I'm just saying it wasn't my usual.
Right. See,
That
'cause
That motherfucker's
I'm
laugh
like,
was
yeah.
killing me,
But see,
bro.
like for me personally, I've always hated bullies. You know what I'm saying? So when I see people in those situations where it's just like, damn, life is just constantly beating their ass up. You know what I'm saying? And when you just get tired of it and take that stance, I'm like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So when he was in the train, he shot him. Pow! I was like, yeah. Listen. Here's the funny part.
Shot the shit out of his ass.
He shot them niggas. Look, I'm in the theater like, I'm thinking everybody was gonna clap.
He looking
No,
around.
it was just me. I'm like, So I'm that twisted.
You're that guy. You're that
I'm
guy.
the only
And then he
fucked up
followed
nigga
the
in
one
there.
dude and shot his ass on the step.
Oh,
Like,
nigga, I was loving that shit.
Are y'all familiar with the Bernard Getz incident on the New York subway? The guy that shot them young brothers that were bothering him?
I know the name. I don't know the situation.
Yeah, I guess
in
this
depth.
must have happened about.
It's in the 80s or early,
Yeah,
late 70s.
Yeah,
early
I guess
80s.
I'm bringing up references that y'all can't get with, but yeah, it was a situation just like that, and that's what that scene, you know,
He
reminded
had
you
got
of.
robbed so many times.
Right, so he
on the
started
train.
carrying a gun,
Started carrying
and
a
he
pistol.
took him out. Yeah,
And that's essentially what a taxi driver is about, kind of, sort of.
he wasn't bullying in Taxi Driver. He was just a
nutcase.
Yeah,
Everybody kept talking. I've never seen this movie. You know
Taxi
that?
Driver?
Never seen it.
Oh,
But the-
wow.
but
I
the
just watched
movie-
it the other day.
but the movie that Joker borrows most heavily from is The King of Comedy. I
King
can
of
see
Comedy?
it falls on deaf ears. That stars Robert De Niro and Jerry Lewis. That was his
What
last.
the fuck kind of pairing is that?
And directed by Martin Scorsese.
Oh wow! So it's
And
gangster.
it was about this comedian. He's delusional, and he wants to be on Jerry Lewis played Jerry Langford,
Okay.
like a Johnny Carson
Yeah,
type
yeah.
of
Okay.
guy, and he would go to his show and hang out, and he set up like stand-ups in his basement, and he would pretend to be a guest on Jerry Langford's talk
Just
show.
like how the Joker was.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
where it was borrowed from, man.
Wow,
That's where it
yeah, I'm
came
about to
from.
say, it sounds exactly just like that.
And it was, I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but what I was telling my lady friend, I said, you also got to see Deer Hunter, the Deer Hunter
I
with
seen
Robert
Deer
De Niro.
Hunter, yeah.
Because De Niro,
Yeah.
I don't want to be a
That's
spoiler,
De Niro
but
and
yeah.
Christopher Walken. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
but to
movie's
see
crazy.
how Robert De Niro's character ended,
Uh-huh.
it made me think of the Deer Hunter.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yo, how was it working on Days of Our Lives?
Dun, dun, dun,
Oh, wow.
dun, 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 dun.
Switching
Because you
gears.
did that a long. I mean, yeah. I'm still-
Yeah. Days of Our Lives. How did that happen? Oh,
You like, man, you making me think.
no. It's
I
cool.
done done 100
You know what?
projects since
Let
Days
me,
of Our
well,
Lives.
no, but you know that was really cool because every job is so important to you at the time.
Right.
It just takes a second to kind of remember how it came about. I had auditioned for the role of like an orderly or something on the show. You know, just one day, under 50 words, and I booked it. And that same day, I had an audition for an episode of Dynasty. The old Dynasty with
Yeah.
with you know
The shit that I had to watch when I got in trouble.
Carringtons and
My
shit.
shit.
Carringtons,
Sit your ass
yeah,
down here and watch these stories.
R.I.P.
Which-
Diane Carroll.
which was hot, very very hot at the time, and I got it. And they
I'm
shot.
sorry. I'm just looking over at Will. She's like, what the fuck are they talking about? Yeah, she was just like in a day, like,
Dynasty?
This is the 40 and above podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
today.
I'm sorry to
For
slow
sure
y'all
today.
down, but
No, go ahead.
We're all
Continue.
40 and above,
But-
but we good.
Continue.
yeah, but both calls came in. I got both jobs, and of
And
course,
you took Days of Our Lives?
No. I
Okay.
didn't. My agent called, the casting director Days and said Tony won't be available for that day. You know, he booked an episode of Dynasty previously, and he said, "Thank you very much. We'll keep in mind for other projects." And within hours, they called me back and they said, "We have place for him as a bartender
Dope.
in a bar which was frequented on the show called Shenanigans."
Yeah.
And so I said, "Well, hell yeah!" And it, so I did it, and they wrote me in for an entire year.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
That's
So
what's
that was like really my first really cool recurring gig on a TV show, and it was like getting to come back, not having an audition. You know, people, the cast, the crew, people know you. You kind of feel like part of the family. I remember I got invited to the picnic out in Pacific Palisades somewhere. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I've
I'm part of
arrived.
it.
Now,
So,
no, I was gonna say. Now we was talking, and you said you had something else coming up that you really wanted to come on here and talk about.
I got an episode of Shameless. I'm going to be on the season.
Oh, my mom loves that show.
Your mom.
That's my mom. Nah, I watch that shit too. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But my mom is who put me on to Shameless. She's the one that was
Shameless
like, yo,
is
that
dope,
show's
ain't it?
crazy.
I've watched it since the beginning, man. And this summer,
Are you a cut up on that show? Yes.
I can't
Everybody's a
tell you
cut up.
exactly what I did, but it's in keeping with what I'm telling you. I usually play white collar types, lots of
Okay.
military types, government officials.
Right.
I'm right in that vein, but they let me cut loose.
Okay.
And I have a really I have a couple of scenes with. I guess this is okay to say the youngest son, Carl.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll leave it at that. And I'm in the season 10 trailer,
Dope.
so it'll give you some clue as to
Of what you're gonna be doing.
understanding.
So for those who don't know, and if his voice actually sounds familiar, you was the voiceover on NBA. I mean, 2K.
15. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
he was the assistant coach.
15.
And I was also
15.
the image. Let me make
Yeah,
that clear.
And the image. Yeah.
It wasn't just the voice, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the funny part, because I'm gonna tell you this is how I recognize him. We was in the shop. We was
I remember
cutting.
that day too.
We was in the shop.
I do too.
And Matt was like, Trey. I was like, what's up? He was like, hey, I think that's the coach. Like,
I was like, coach.
The coach.
I'm like, coach, what are you talking about? He's like, the coach. I'm like, the coach of what? He's like, 2K. And I looked, I said, oh shit, that is the coach.
And I remember sitting in the in the chair, and all y'all were like staring at me. And I'm like,
What the fuck did I do?
something must be happening outside that I can't see because Ali got me facing this way. And then my man said, man, are you on the NBA 2K? And the dude with the beard, the light hair.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah.
And y'all went, yeah!
Because everybody, listen, I play 2 video games, like
Madden.
religiously, Madden and 2K. So, and at the time, it was 2K season, and, you know, he
No
coaching
doubt.
me. This is what I need you to do. I'm like, yo, that is coach. It's me, baby. I'm in the game.
We need y'all to get the ball to Trey. Let him just take him to the hole.
Yeah.
So I remember when you confirmed that was you, we got to asking you, like, how long did it take you to do everything? Because you got to do a lot, bro.
Oh, bruh.
So tell the people
Weeks.
about that experience.
It was several weeks.
Great pay.
Yes, it was.
First of all.
But let me tell you, Kush, you earned it, bruh.
Oh no, I know.
When I auditioned for the job, it was 1 page with 3 paragraphs on it, and I memorized them. And they said, "Okay, you got to call back on this." And I go and I think it was a commercial. It fell under the commercial jurisdiction at my agency, and they said, "You booked it, Tony." I said, "Oh, well, when does it shoot?" And they said, "Oh, you're going to be up in San Francisco for weeks shooting this." I'm like, 3 paragraphs? Excuse me, are you kidding? And they said, no, this is a video game. I was like, oh, okay. Because they wouldn't even tell you what it was.
Right.
You didn't even know it was NBA.
Because they didn't want the
2K.
word to get out. Yeah.
They don't tell you. You sign so many
NDAs.
NDAs. Thank you. And anyway, when I got up there, they handed me a binder, man. I mean, a binder like you used to go to school with, about that thick.
damn.
And that was your dialogue.
That was well, not just me, but with the other actor I worked with, terrific actor named Sheldon Bailey, who was the Wii player.
Right.
And, you know, each scene, each cut scene has 3 different scenarios. So you have to do each scenario slightly different than the one before.
Right.
Right.
You know, and this was all new. It was like we walked into, it's almost like a gym, like a gymnasium.
You had on the suit. with
Had on the
yeah.
mocap suit, which I had never done before, and the little helmet that captures your face. And I said, well, where's the camera? He said, the cameras are everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. And then they just map it out on the floor, and
So you got to kind of act everything out.
yeah,
It's like
every
it's like a
scene.
giant.
No, it's not
stage.
like they just photograph you and
Yeah. You
And-
got to act it
and-
because they want
no,
your
you gotta
movement.
do
and
it.
They want your
Yeah.
movement, all that.
everything.
Facial expressions,
Yeah,
all
when I
that.
sit in the seat and I go, everything. They'll set up a desk like this, and then they'll put in everything afterwards. But you're
Right.
sitting there in your mocap suit, and the player's sitting there, you know, and you're meeting with them in your office, and then it was tons of you know, the between the halftime talks
Right, yeah.
with the player. Man,
Yeah, do so
bruh,
many
nigga. At one point, I was like, I had been doing it all day, and I was like, you know, I was getting hoarse, and I was like, yo, I got to take a break. And
But the thing is, like, do you got to do it all over with everybody's name that's in the fucking NBA just in case you got to talk to that person?
no.
Okay.
It's just the what you call it player.
Just the Wii player,
Yeah.
Oh,
and,
okay,
and
okay,
occasionally you had another actor or two in the scene, but largely it was
Just the
with
Wii player.
Gotcha.
Sheldon Bailey, who some of y'all might know from Game Shakers. Tall brother, he's like 6'6". He actually played. He told me one time. He said he made it as far as you can go without being in the NBA. You know, he played overseas, and you know, he's a real baller.
Do you think they picked y'all because you are tall and he's, you know what I mean, look like an NBA player?
He looks like an NBA player. He's built like you know, he's truly in fact he's LeBron James's double.
Oh,
He's
wow.
going to be LeBron
Are you
James's double.
asking, did they pick him or did they pick Tony?
Both of them.
I think I looked
Both of
like
them.
I think I looked
He looked like a coach.
a former, like a guy who could have been a basketball player 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. No, I mean, he got the height. You know
Right,
what I mean?
exactly.
Like he walked like
Tony
he played
walked in
basketball.
like, nigga, I used to shut Doc Rivers
didn't
down
ask
every
me
game.
that.
Doc Rivers was shit when he went up.
Exactly. But you know what's funny about that? The legacy of that is that they still use my image in the stands for the later incarnations of the game.
Yeah,
You know,
that's-
it's
Because
like
he
my son
was
will
a
call me
coach
and say,
for a few years.
yeah. In fact, the second one was directed by Spike Lee. NBA
right.
King. And so on my resume it says I was in a Spike Lee joint.
Oh, dope.
Hey,
That's
I
dope.
didn't actually work with him, but
yeah.
he used my stuff, so I
Guess
figured.
what?
Listen,
I'm in a Spike Lee
did you
film.
come out of there like, I feel like I could be a goddamn coach right now?
Not at all. Because you were working so fast, and it was so much stuff. I mean, I have a rudimentary understanding of basketball. Like, you know, I'm a fan. I never really played competitively. I just played pickup with my friends.
Yeah.
Coming up, you know, that kind of thing. And you know, so a lot of the terminology and understanding of the game they had written for me.
Right.
In fact, at one point I remember this just came to me, Dice. It was so much dialogue that they just put an earpiece in my ear, and the guy would feed it to me as this was on camera.
Right.
And one of the producers would feed me the line, and I would just say it because you just couldn't learn.
Can't
all
remember
that
all
stuff.
that. It's a whole goddamn binder. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Playbook.
fucking
There
300
was no
fucking
way.
pages.
There was no way. You know, when you get a job like that as an actor, you get it months in advance.
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing a play, an August Wilson show or something like
But
that.
they had to keep that under wraps.
When did you realize that you know, like, yo, I could really be good at acting? Or when did you
That was
want to
my question.
become an actor?
I kind of always wanted to be an actor. Even from the time I was a young kid, I used to be in love with like old movies and I mean, I was watching the Humphrey Bogarts and James Cagney's, the black and white movies that were on in
Kind of
that
reenact them
time.
and shit.
Not so much, but I just
Studied them.
wanted to be in the movies. I wanted to be one of those guys.
Yeah.
And then, like you were alluded to earlier, the 1970s, the blaxploitation era, the
Big
Richard.
man, say Jack.
Exactly. Me and my friends, we would get on the bus and we get dressed up and we go downtown Detroit and we go to the Fox Theater and we see like Fred Williamson and Hammer and, you know, Jim Brown and Slaughter and, you know.
Right.
In fact,
Hard
I
movie.
remember something from, you guys wouldn't remember this, but there was a play called Five on the Black Hand Side that was written by Charlie Russell. Charlie Russell is Bill Russell, the basketball player's younger brother. He wrote...
Nipsey Russell's cousin.
Is that a fact?
Nah, I'm joking.
Charlie Russell wrote a play called Five on the Black Hand Side. The movie version of it starred Glenn Turman, and there was a promo for it, and it went something like this: You've been coffee-tized, blackularized, and superflied. You've been macked, hammered, slaughtered, and shafted, but now we're going to turn you on to some brand new jive. You'll be glorified and sanctified when you see Five on the black hand side.
Everybody's gonna move there.
I-
Right on.
Yeah,
dog.
I saw all those
Yo,
movies,
he had
man.
that shit. Remember, he said, hold on.
I dig.
I
Right.
hadn't thought about that in years, but when I started thinking of all those names of those films, you know,
Right.
it left to mind.
Yeah.
But
That's funny. I just really wish we could capture their images as we over here talking about all this. 'Cause they over there like, I mean, like the Twilight Zone. They're like, I don't know what the hell is going on. What are they talking about?
Wells
So-
is from
so-
DC. She know about Five
So,
on the Black.
I have a
side.
question. So,
He-
so when you went to school in San
Chocolate
Diego,
City native?
so when you went to school in San Diego, did you study acting?
That's when it got started.
Okay.
When I got to San Diego, and I kind of, my aunt, the summer between my junior and senior year, my younger brother and I, we were kind of wilding out in Detroit. And my mother put us on a Greyhound bus to San Diego. And when we got there, that's when my father was living at the time. And I had some family there. But my aunt, Aunt Marva, who I'm still very close to this day, she lives in San Diego. She packed us up and her kids, drove us to L.A. I remember we were driving up Gower Street. Well, I didn't know it was Gower at the time, but we were driving up Gower. We were driving past Paramount Studios, and I saw Happy Days. I I was like, on the marquee, and I was like, oh shit, the Fonz is in there. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Okay,
come
y'all
on,
do. Okay,
dog.
all right.
Come on,
Listen,
dog.
I just turned 43 the other day.
Oh, okay. So
I
I
turned
was like,
44
okay, this shit is
in
real. And she took us to
2
the
weeks.
Universal Studios tour. And I took the Universal tour, and I remember we had to stop because they were actually shooting a TV show. And I was
Battlestar Galactica used to be over there back in them
like,
days.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the Jaws shit was weak as fuck back then too.
I'm coming to that, Kush. And then we had to stop because they were shooting a episode of an old TV show called Operation Submarine. Anyway, it was an old TV show about the Navy, and I was like, okay, I had a revelation. I was like, oh, this shit is real. It's like in Detroit, we make cars,
Right.
but in Hollywood, they make
make
movies
yeah.
and music and TV shows. And I was like, this is where I'm gonna come. I'm gonna get here. I don't know when. So I went to San Diego after high school and got involved in the theater. That same aunt encouraged me to start auditioning for plays, which to me was foreign, but then I loved it. I embraced the audition process, and people thought I was really good at it. Going back to when I started kind of knowing that I was good, yeah. And even though I'd never done it before, everybody from the community embraced me, and I just started doing play after play after play, and then I realized I could make some money in LA doing this
Good
very
money.
same thing.
Residuals.
So I moved up here and got a job as a tour guide at Universal Studios.
Wow.
And I did it for 2 years.
Doing that would definitely make you want to do this. You're like, I'm saying this shit every day. Like, I'm gonna do this.
Man, I've considered the last 2 years of college that I never had. Because I would go to tapings of TV shows like The Jeffersons, ER, Different Strokes, Facts of Life. In fact, they were shooting Back to the Future on the lot when I got there.
That's dope.
And
Did you make some connections on set?
yes, one of the smartest things I ever did was getting that job because so many of the guys that I worked with, we were all young, college-age kids at the time. Many of them became producers and casting directors and directors. Like my friend Steve Hafer, he directs countless shows on the Disney Channel. My friend Katie Garrettson, she's 2.5 Men, Frasier. Her list is endless. I'm not here to spout everybody's credits.
Right.
Yeah, so a lot of those people are in the industry, and so I consider it like the last 2 years of college I never had in the fraternity that I never belonged to. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that helped out because can you keep track of?
Oh, absolutely.
How many shows, movies, or what have you done? Like how many? Because I'm looking at your IMDb, and I'm like, God damn, I'm like, how we can't come up with this nigga like, yo, his shit is
I
like
think
endless.
I'm at 80 well, actually 81 because I just did an episode of Grownish, but like my first recurring role was on a show called Hunter.
I
with
remember
Fred
Hunter.
Dryer.
Yeah.
I
Now,
did.
like, do you see just like checks coming in and be like, damn, this shit old as hell? Like,
Yeah.
like, cause
He
like,
said, yeah.
it's gotta, cause
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's gotta be endless. You're like, damn. I mean, like, you open up your mailbox and you got like 30 motherfucking checks. Like,
Well, now it's
damn.
direct deposit, but
Yeah.
I go to the to the
It's
tracker.
SAG residual,
Right.
And yeah.
Okay.
But you got to understand that these things they diminish over time.
But sometimes they pick back up too.
But you stay working, so.
But what happens is, if you do a TV show, and they rerun it in the summer, you get 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Then when it finds its way to syndication,
drops.
with each airing, it begins to drop off.
With
I remember
each
I used
airing, it takes a drop.
not with each. I remember I did an episode of Bernie Mac, the Bernie Mac show, and
What was it like working with Bernie? Finish this
Man.
story, but then answer
You wanna go
back
back to
part.
Bernie?
Yeah.
okay, that was a really dope episode too. I got I think I got a $50 check from Bernie Mac for like 3 or 4 years straight, a month. That's just one of
Nah, I know.
many.
Stacked up
That's
residuals,
how it
yeah.
works.
Nah, I know.
But a friend of mine had written an episode called Rope-a-Dope, and I went in to read for it, and I booked it, and she called me. She says, "Tony, you booked the job," and I was like, "Oh, cool." She was the writer. She wasn't the producer, and she said, "You know who's also in this episode?" I said, "Who?" She said Wesley Snipes.
Oh, snap.
I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, that's dope.
And then she said, "And Garcelle Bouvet."
Oh, wow.
And what our scenes were was Kalita Smith, who's an old friend of mine. In fact, gosh, it's such a spider web. But I produced a film of my own called Retiring Tatiana in 2000, and 4 months after we wrapped, Kalita booked the Bernie Mac show. Okay. She played my love interest in my project. But anyway, so I get this. So Kalita worked for Wesley Snipes' character, and he had a dinner party, and there was Garcelle and Wesley, and Kalita and Bernie, and me and this white girl they paired me with as my wife. Okay. So it was the 6 of us, and it was Kalita's birthday, and she came and grabbed me. She says, "Tony, they presented her this big cake on the set. You know, everybody's saying happy birthday to her. And she came and got me and says, Tony, we're having lunch. Bernie's having lunch in his dressing room." So I was like, okay, cool. So we all go to Bernie's dressing. He only invited the guest cast. So I'm sitting in there with, Bernie and Wesley, and we're all having our lunch from the smokehouse over there on Barham. Okay. He had ordered from there. And then when we got on the set, they had a real sushi chef from Nobu. Oh, dope. And he was rolling up fresh sushi
I've had that twice.
Is that right? You been out there?
No, I'm talking about on set. I did that on leaning.
No, I'm talking about what we were eating on camera.
Okay. I thought you meant they had it on set. My bad.
We were eating this on camera, and then Bernie said, he said, Tony, this is just, he was talking about the script. He said, this is just a blueprint. He said, if you feel something, you say it. Right. I was like, shit, that ain't never happened before.
Gave you the right to improvise.
So what is it about is he's got kids on the brain, basically, and he can't go out without thinking about the kids, and he wanted to have an adult. In his first mind, he wanted to have a night out with just grown folks. And so anyway, I guess it was not Kalita's. Yeah, Kalita's character pulls out the pictures of the kids, and I look at the pictures and I say, "Oh, Bernie, look like you spit him out," because I don't know it's not his actual child. And he said, "No, man, my sister spit him out." And I was like, and they kept that in the episode. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." So anyway, then we go to, and then after we wrap, Kalita come and got me. She says, "Tony, we're having tequila shots and cigars in Bernie's dressing room." Right. So we go to Bernie's dressing room.
Bernie's dressing room was the hot.
Oh, it was the joint, man. Right? And we all in there. I mean, I was faded, man, by the time we were leaving. And I remember at one moment I was sitting there with Wesley and Bernie. We were sitting at a table together. We were smoking our cigars.
That's a we made it moment.
Absolutely.
That's
hey, but check this out. Bernie looks at me and he says, "So Tony, you want to come back on my show?" And I'm like, hell yeah, man. You crazy? So, I left faded that night, man, and Garcelle gave me a ride back to my car, and I was like, man, this was one of the coolest fucking jobs I ever had in my life. Yeah.
That's dope.
That's a good night.
It was.
That's a good evening.
It really was.
Tony, you want to come back on this motherfucking show?
Bring it back on the motherfucking show.
I tell you what, Tony.
And Wesley was really cool, man. And,
that's before going to jail for the taxes, huh?
Oh yeah. No, it was afterwards.
It was after.
It was after. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
He was out by then.
I'm looking forward to seeing Wesley Snipes in this Dolomite movie, man. He looks like he's gonna be funny in this.
I hope the movie's gonna be good, man. I really do.
Somebody seen it. Somebody who was actually Leon Ross. He was.
I know somebody saw it too.
Yeah, they said it was funny as fuck. So.
I hope so.
I'm looking forward to it.
How bad?
All right, so we got to get ready to wrap this episode up. So
no hot seat?
No. So let the people know, where they can follow you on any of your social media, or you know what I'm saying. Let them also know when the season of.
You like nigga, watch my show.
Let them know when the new season of Shameless is gonna drop. And
all right, you can catch me on Instagram at pretty_Tony W. I'm at Tony Winters on Facebook, and I really I put together
straight from
Tony,
Detroit.
Right,
straight from Detroit.
That's what they call him, Pretty Tony.
That's some Detroit shit.
And on YouTube, I just put together a really dope YouTube page called Tony Winters TV, and because I was always very conscientious and meticulous about getting copies of my work, And I've uploaded everything I've done to Tony Winter, practically everything I've done to Tony Winter's TV, from movies to TV shows to not the whole thing, but just my scenes.
Right.
Can I audition for something?
I haven't produced anything in a long time, man.
Yeah,
But
we
next
do.
time
Did
you
you say,
do,
can you
next time you
audition
do,
for
can you
something?
can
Yeah,
we
I'm about
get
to
can we
start
get
acting.
confirmation word from you
Acting the
that the
fool.
3 of us get auditions?
Absolutely, and I want to tell you, man, I really enjoyed the work you did with Gary on that piece with Daphne. Was it Daphne?
Yeah,
Daphne Springs.
Yeah.
At the house, you were the garden. You were pretending to be not the gardener, but the pool boy.
Oh yeah,
that
right,
shit is
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
That shit is hilarious. That shit is
I'm
hilarious.
actually filming with Daphne today.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I met her in the barbershop, man.
He's leaving.
I don't
Funny
know who all
Barbers.
these YouTube stars
It's gonna
are,
be.
but
It's gonna be a D&D show.
Yeah, it's gonna be a D&D show.
D&D.
Yeah, it
Daphne
is.
and
Yeah, it
Dice.
is. No,
Yeah,
that Daphne, Dice, and Son,
Domingo.
and
Domingo.
Domingo, the triple D's,
D.
nigga. Triple D's. nigga.
Anyway,
I hope I haven't been talking too much, y'all.
Nah,
Like, I
fuck
just been
shit.
rattling
That's
on.
it's the
what the show
podcast.
is
You're
about,
supposed to talk.
yeah.
Okay.
It's
All
called
right.
Barbershop
Stories are
Talk
good.
like
And the
this.
stories are good.
So this has been another episode of Barbershop
Talk
Talk
like
Like
this.
This. I'm your host, Trey the Barber.
And it's your other host, Dice the Barber.
Kush in the building as always.
And your guest, Tony Winters.
And we out this bitch.
Peace.